Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Joe with Christina and Brooke. Today, we're going to talk about celebration. How do you like to be celebrated? That's something that's really individual and personal, and sometimes it might depend on the situation and the dynamics. There's so many variables there. My mind goes all over the place with this. I love the topic. Joe, let's start with you. How do you like to be celebrated?
I don't know. This is a weird one for me because I still always feel awkward whenever somebody thanks me for something or whenever I'm highlighted in any way or any attention's brought to either me or the work that I do. I just always feel awkward. So for me, it's more of like a subdued, just kind of on the DL. Like I don't need a whole lot, right? Like just somebody pulling me aside and be like, yo, just I saw this and blah blah. That was awesome. Good job. Like that's more than enough for me, right? On the other end of that, I also, or not the other end of that, but along with that though, I also appreciate that that's very much a me thing, right? Like it is super individual, like you said. And this really kind of impacted me a couple nights ago. We were at this award ceremony and seeing these educational leaders and schools and campuses being acknowledged for like this tremendous work that they did, and seeing that in that public forum, that being celebrated and acknowledged in that way like meant the world to people, like people being moved like so deeply by being acknowledged and being thanked and just having their work, having somebody look at it in that public way, and like it meant so much to them. And it made me realize that I need to be more mindful of that, need to be more mindful of how other people like to be appreciated, because we all like that differently, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Do you think it has to do with how bought in they are to the vision and what's being celebrated? And maybe that plays a role into accepting the appreciation, because maybe if it were 6 months into a role and you're being called up for all these things, it would be a little uncomfortable. But when you've been through the mud for years and finally are being recognized, like someone sees your story and celebrates you in a public forum, maybe that's not like the default way people want to be celebrated, but in that situation, it's like, oh, you saw me, like you get it.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I agree with you, Christina. And I also relating into like love languages too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Are you a word of affirmation person? Are you, do you like gifts? All
Yep.
those. So knowing that is helpful. But it's so interesting. So my two soon-to-be stepsons, one of them loves recognition, loves, love. You know, anything he can get attention about, he loves it. He just is so, it moves him, it motivates him, and it makes him happy. The other one hates it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that he doesn't believe in the recognition, or if it's a confidence thing. But yeah, you know, he loves being told that he's handsome and he's funny and things like that, and things that he hears. But when it comes to other new things, like you said, he doesn't buy into it. And it embarrasses him.
Yeah.
And it's almost for him like artificial.
So fascinating. Oh, I have so many questions. Like, is that across the board in all situations? Is it just with a certain dynamic? Like, does that ever show up differently, or is that just like the default?
Yeah. I think for him, it's probably when it's around other people, but when it's one-on-one, he's much better in receiving compliments. Like he doesn't need the public confirmation that the other one needs.
I could totally empathize with that. And I'm thinking in my mind to, because I think you're describing the way that you're describing him. I'm like, man, that kind of sounds a little bit of how I feel about this. Like I'm thinking back to these like milestones in life that at the time were really, really important to me. Like, oh my goodness, winning, like Boy Scout of the Year, which was like the biggest thing in my existence when I was, 11, 12 years old. And winning, like Teacher of the Year, and just all of these little things that at the time were really big. And that even in those moments, Brooke, what you just said just struck me like a bolt of lightning. Thinking back to those moments and earning those and winning those and being awarded those and being recognized for those, it was the public acknowledgement of it that made me feel really awkward and weird. And the flip side of that, it was the more personal, the more intimate one-to-one of like when the Scoutmaster was the one afterwards. I was like, Joe, Mr. Roberts, I'll never forget him. Joe, dude, I'm really proud of you. Like, this means a lot, blah, blah. That's when I felt like, yes, that really was kind of like the acknowledgement, right? And the same thing with the Teacher of the Year stuff. Like, being awarded in front of the staff, it just felt awkward, but speaking with like the principal or speaking with my department head one-to-one about it in a more intimate setting, for me landed much harder in terms of like feeling that sense of appreciation and acknowledgement.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson here that we can take away for people is that just really knowing who you're celebrating. That's it, right? Knowing them, meeting them where they are, because the way that you like to be celebrated very often is the way that we celebrate other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about you, it's about them and how they like to be celebrated. And also there's some people who get very awkward about being celebrated, but then once they're there, they love it, right? So.
Right.
Totally.
Absolutely.
And I think also like realizing for ourselves how it is that we like to be celebrated and making sure that we're setting up opportunities for that to happen in some way for the things that we're working really hard towards and the things that we're really dedicating ourselves to. I mean, it's what we talk about every week, is having our priorities and making progress and constantly reflecting. I'm hoping, that there comes times where we're reflecting and we're progressing. We're like, yo, we're doing it. Like, we're doing the thing. We're making progress towards the thing that we wanted to, and making sure that we know how it is that we like to be celebrated and creating opportunities for that to happen, because it's a cool part of the accomplishment is also the sense of reward that we get and the sense of acknowledgement, however it is that we like to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I like it. Yeah.
About this for days. That was amazing.
Say, like, there's so much more I want to say, but let's pause for now.
Oh no. Did I freeze? Who froze?
Uh-oh.
Was it me?
You guys are frozen for me.
Oh,
Okay.
It might have been all of us.
yeah. Okay, good. Well, there we go. There's your awkward pause for the day.
Perfect timing.
Stay awkward, everybody. Celebrate individually. Celebrate personally. Celebrate until you get it right, and stay awkward. Happy Sunday.